Well, folks, welcome to the Go for Diamond call this evening. It's always an honor to have the opportunity to share with the team. And as you all know, if you've been following the series, is we are doing the segments of the Build Success Cycle series that we started back in January 7th. And for those of you that are hearing this call for the first time, or this based on the series that we're doing starting the new year, feel free to go to activeteam.com under video. And you will notice on mid-page there is a section that says Go for Diamond Call. These calls that are recorded with the visual, and you can catch up on watching, I believe, the last 4 calls. We started with the Success Cycle modules, which kind of envelopes all of the training segments, and then we did the other 3, which last week we did the Attitude. And now we're actually doing the money-making activities training segments, which I believe are very, very important. And as you can see before you on the screen, it's building your list. Now, this is absolutely critical. If you are a seasoned associate and you've been building your business and things you may feel are not growing fast enough, well, I can give you an answer right away, is you're probably started shifting your time into managing the existing team instead of continuing building your team. And building your list is very important. I know many of you say, well, I've done a list before, I contacted everybody, and we'll talk about some of the ideas that we're going to share with you on this segment here. But you need to revise that list and maybe revisit some of those people. But you need to compile that list and start working from that list. This is the foundation. If someone is brand new, who just got started, that is the very first thing that they should do, is to actually have that list. Work with your upline, especially if they're seasoned, with a bit more experience than you do, to give you some ideas to put that list together. Do not worry if they're rich, poor, if they have time, no time, if they're going to be interested or not, they like network marketing. All of that is irrelevant at that point. All you are doing is you are starting to build your list. Any points you want to add, Tammy, before we begin?
Yeah, so for your list, you can create a list with a book. You can do this on the computer. I recommend to have some structure in building your list. Whatever way works for you is the best way for you. I know when I met Chris, he's trying to convert me over to the computer, which is great. I mean, I'm doing a lot of stuff on the computer today, but I still like to have my book with my list in my handbook, and it works well for me. So whatever works for you is the best. So
yeah,
the key is to be organized.
That's true.
And to have a good follow-through system when you're building your list.
I mean, that's true, right? I mean, you're a little old school, and
it's okay.
That's all good. And she has been converted. She has completely digitized herself. But yeah, I do see those papers and those little. Okay, she's looking at me with those eyes. Okay, let's move on.
You can tell we're having fun on holidays, eh?
Yeah. By the way, we are in Puerto Rico right now. For those of you that may not be aware, a little bit of R&R, but you know what? We stay plugged in. We love what we do. We love sharing. We love teaching. And that's the beauty of it, is even though we're on vacation, it doesn't matter that we take a segment here or there to do Max, to do a call. We absolutely love it. So going back to the training this evening, I think it's very important that you focus on the duplication cycle. And we're talking about the activities. Fully engage in MAC as associates or as a preferred customer. And the fact is, and I put preferred customer second because I default to a customer. I don't start with a customer. And just so you understand what I mean by this is, as we progress with the following segments on inviting, following up, and so forth, what's happening is, I'm not saying that you don't want your customers, you don't want to lead with it. What I'm saying is that every time I talk to someone, I always kind of plant the seed that the company compensates their customers to help them pay for the products. There's many ways you can approach it. And then you can go ahead and focus on the product if you know this person is really more interested on the product. But always, always create a balance and letting them know that there is a compensation behind all of this. And of course, if all they want to do, try the product, that's totally fine. So in the process that we're doing right now is building your list. And then the process after that is prospecting, inviting, following up. And you see in the center it says trust. And trust is the foundation to it all. That's the reason why if you talk to someone one time and that person says no, well, again, you need time to build trust. And that's why we have the process of the inviting and then the following up back to for the prospecting and so forth.
So the ways to build your list. Just the key thing is just to start jotting down names of people you know. You can go through the yellow pages and the white pages in book and look at names and look at last names. But a lot of things will trigger from that. Look at pictures in your phones, albums. I don't know if you still have albums out there, but go through stuff. You know, people that have come to your weddings or parties or whatever it is. Once you start triggering those names, other names will always come up. So what you want to do is create a personal contact list. These are people that are very, very, very close to you. Family, friends, close coworkers. And you might be saying to yourself right now, well, I don't want to talk to my family. I can tell you, I've 12 years in Max, and I've had the same thing. And my sister recently joined Max. She might be on the call tonight, and she's just signed up somebody brand new yesterday, and I believe she was signing up somebody new today. She went to an event, the kickoff event in Toronto. She's on fire. So contact your family, friends, people that are close to you, because you just never know. Your warm contact list. Create a contact list that's warm. And these are people that you might have done courses with, classes, you went to school with, maybe people you've been in sports with in the past, just networking events. I meet tons of people through networking events. Your hairdresser, dry cleaners, banks, people you deal with in the banks, real estate agents, travel agents, your butcher, your baker, your children's friends, and you know, other parents of the kids. There's so many people that you know on, you know, just going out every single day and meeting them or spending time with these people once a month, whatever it is. This is a fantastic list. And you know, friends are generally supportive. Okay, and even if they're not open, don't worry about it. It's not because they're not open. I think the world wants to protect us. Everybody around us wants to protect you from the MLM industry or network marketing industry or whatever they want to call it. And the truth is they just don't have the knowledge of what this industry really is about. Okay, so don't worry about what people think up front. And then, of course, there's the cold market. I love the cold market. I remember when I first started, a lot of my warm market contacts that I went through my list, they were not open. There was a couple of people, but in general, most of them were not open. But I learned that no means not now. So I kept them on my list, and I started working in the cold market, just meeting people every day. Every time you go out, you meet people. As a matter of fact, while we're here in Puerto Rico, we're meeting people. We've got people interested in the business and the product. And it's just hanging out, you know, sitting in the hot tub and just hanging out around the pool area. We're just connecting with people. Cold market. All right? And then if you look at social media, Facebook, LinkedIn. I mean, how many friends do you have on your social media platforms? Pinterest. Okay, there's different platforms that you can get from. Instagram. So I recommend to become friends with them, like to really become friends with them. I know a lot of time you know, people click on and bring people into their platforms and don't really know them, but go and have a look at their platform. This is something that I do. Look at people's platform, find something that you like about it, privately message them, tell them something you like about whatever they're doing, and try and get a conversation going on a private message. And then often I end up pulling them off the platform by saying, hey, let's connect on a phone call. And people are open. So these are things that you can do in really pulling those cold markets into your warm market list. And then, of course, referral marketing. This is amazing. There's a lot of people that the timing might not be right for them when you talk to them, but ask them who they know that could really benefit from this. And you'd be surprised on how many people are nice enough to pass you names or contact somebody and say, hey, are you okay if I give them your number because, so-and-so is up to this and I think you should really look at this. I think when people really like you and they feel they can trust you, they're open to refer people to you because we get referrals all the time. Okay, so your list is your lifeline. So that has to be continually growing.
You know, and then a practical aspect, Tammy used the example while we're here. And, you know, when Tammy and I started with Max, I mean, we're going back 12 years ago here, but we went through our personal contact. This is where we started. And I'm telling you, it's a lot easier to go with the people that you are comfortable with. But sometimes it's also the people that might be the most resistant, right? Because they're not shy to tell you their opinions. And often they don't really know much about what's going on other than the opinion that they've heard from someone else or what they think. So it's all about education, right? And that's why we're going to be doing the segments of third-party credibility. That's when this becomes very important, especially with the people you know well. Third-party credibility to validate why you want them to look at this or why you want them to consider this opportunity is really going to help you grow your business. If you try to do this alone, and you keep getting failure after failure after failure, just add the step of the third-party credibility. So make sure you stay tuned for that segment, which will probably be about 3 weeks from now, because that is in line with dealing with your personal contact, people you're warm, the people that knows you well. And Tammy and I literally live within the cold contacts. That's our area. In fact, for me, cold contact, it's almost like warm. It's so easy to connect. It's so easy to connect with people when you are confident on what you do. I know without a shred of a doubt that what I have can really help this lady we were talking to that's dealing with all these medical issues. I know she needs this. By the time we were done, she couldn't wait in trying the product. She's waiting first thing in the morning when we meet again. She's going to have the product in her hands and so forth. So, you got to get comfortable but before you get comfortable dealing with the cold contacts, you got to practice with your warm contacts. Yes, you're going to have rejections. Yes, you're going to have some people who are not going to be open to it. That's cool. That's all. It's all part of the process. Okay. So moving on to the next slide, what's going on is finding the people to what we found is 8 out of 10 people, they will not build a list. They will have a mental list, right? We call them the posers. These are folks that, they'll do the business on the part-time when it's convenient, if the time happens to be appropriate, and they never really make that list solid. And folks, this is what I want you to understand. Why is it that some of us are doing so well and some of us are not doing so well? Is it because it start with your list? Are you actually, like those of you on the call here, are you actually going to make your list? Are you going to write it down on paper, or are you just thinking of names that you're going to call, and once you've done these names, then it's done, it's over, right? Until the next event that will stimulate you to start all over again. So it is important that you graduate to become an amateur, in French, amateur, right? So it's you have some name, but start a list and start putting people down, okay? And as you become more of a professional, a bit more of a seasoned, then you're always adding to your list. We'll talk about some of the tools that we have, like constant contact or eye contact, and these are kind of tools that cost a bit of money. I get that. But every time you meet someone, that someone becomes part of your lists, unless they don't want to. I mean, companies spend millions of dollars to build a list, not to sell, but to build a list. I mean, this should be a really strong key for you. Every single time you meet someone, add them to your lists. One list could be the people that are still kind of on the dating process where they don't know if they really want more information. You just kind of stay warm with them. You give them a bit of information here and there. Another list could be products that are interested in, people interested more in the products. Another list could be people who are interested on the opportunity of products and so forth. And if you organize yourself with a professional list like this where you're constantly adding to your list, I'm telling you, over time, you will always have people to talk to. It will never end. Because people you spoke to a year ago, you go back to a full circle. Hey, John, how are you? Just want to catch up with you, see how you're doing. My God, you should see what's going on. By the way, there's this brand new line of product coming out, or there's this beautiful product that you should see. You should hear about these omegas. Oh, my God, you should hear about this story that's going on about this person. And boom, that person that you haven't spoke to in a year ago may turn around and says, you know what? I never thought of that. Actually, I know someone who's dealing with this. So a lot of things changes over time. But if you don't add to your list and keep that list growing, you're never going to have the opportunity to go to a full circle, right? And something on the note here is when people say they don't know anyone, generally this means that they're afraid to talk to people they know. And this is totally normal, right? It's due to lack of confidence, lack of belief in the industry, maybe on themselves or the company and the product itself. And these, again, it's Sammy and I have been going this through over and over, and it keeps going to a circle. And it's always about the belief in the industry and a product and themselves. And as you keep talking and sharing and utilizing third-party credibility to validate what it is we do, you will find that a lot of these folks will reconsider what's going on.
You know, there's a really great book out there called Endless Referrals. And his name is Bob Berg. And I really enjoyed this book. I bought that, I don't know how many years ago, quite a few years ago. And there's a lot of ideas that you can get on building a big list. And one of the things he says is every single person, by the time they're 20, they know at least 200 people by their first name. So when people tell you they don't know anybody, they know people. I mean, there's an underline to that. So that's when you go deeper into the questions. If you want to, of course, if you want to spend the time doing that. You know, actually, Chris and I are always looking for people who are looking. We read body language really, really well because you don't want to drag anybody across the finish line. You know, valuing your time is critical because there's so many people that are silently suffering and they're looking. They're really looking. I mean, we had this experience today with a few people and just listening to their stories. They're hungry. You know, if we wouldn't have talked to them, they wouldn't know about this opportunity or the product. Mm-hmm. So it's critical that you're out there connecting with people and don't be afraid to ask for referrals.
Yeah, and I think, folks, one of the biggest challenge, and we keep coming back to that, is folks are afraid. They are afraid of approaching someone in fear of disturbing or offending or whatever. Folks, you don't offend anybody when you provide a service. And this is what we do. You just have to go in step and don't put so much pressure on yourself on, oh my God, what's going to happen if this person's not interested? What is he going to think of me? Let go of all this stuff and simply, again, start the conversation, chat with the person, exchange, just like you would talk about, if you saw a great, wonderful movie or, you're passionate about it and what are you doing? You're actually selling Paramount. You're selling the picture. You're selling the movie, to someone for him. You don't get compensated for that. But why are we comfortable doing it every day or a restaurant or whatever? It's because we're confident. We don't have any discomfort because we don't feel that there's any personal gain. Well, I know that there's an opportunity behind Max, but folks, it's much bigger than that. And this is where you need to shift your mindset. So going back into your mailing list, let me give you some examples. So let's say you're brand new and you're starting your list right now. You're making your contact. Now, I suggest that you create a list outside of your personal contact, like the one that you use in your phone, that you create another list, right? And you can add these people to your list. I'm not going to go into the details because everybody has different devices today. I'm sure you can figure this out. The fact here is when you start building contact and meeting people, you can have a personal list of up to about 100 people. Once you start passing over 100, then service providers, email service provider, will start giving you a hard time where they won't let you send. The moment you have over 100, like let's say 101, it won't go out because you have more. So you have to create another list, and you can do that, right? Then after, I mean, if you start having over 100 people on your list, I suggest you invest a little bit of money in tools, because here's the downside with your personal list. I want to touch on that. If you send emails to people, you know people aren't very easily, they're just going to say, oh, junk, 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 junk. Well, the problem is that if you have too many people hitting the junk button when you send emails, what happens is you become blacklisted and over time. And every time you send an email to whoever, then what happens is they're not going to get your emails. They'll end up in their junk mail. And maybe that has happened to you, right? And that's usually what's happening. It could also be the email service provider you're using that automatically puts you into your junk mail. It's possible. But the fact here is it's totally okay, because 100, it's easier to manage. And generally, I mean, even 100 is starting to get quite a bit. But these are people you met, you know, generally. Okay? And then you can upgrade to companies like iContact. I find iContact a little bit expensive. iContact maybe is good when you start having like thousands of people. But until you get there, Aweber is a bit cheaper. You know, I think it's around $20-some a month or something like that. Now, that's US dollars, of course. And you can create little opt-in buttons that you can put at the bottom of your email as a signature. And every time you send an email, they can click that little subscribe button and boom, they end up on your list. Or you can add them yourself. Of course, I always recommend you ask their permission. And in fact, the Aweber will send an email to them to confirm if they want to receive it. These are more details we can get into. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to help you with that. The point is that then you can graduate to a service provider. Like maybe you have many others. Some might be free up to a certain amount. Again, do your research. But I think it's important that you start creating a list of people as you meet them. Every time you do a presentation, that they were interested or not, always finish, whatever your presentation was, always finish with the question, hey, John, Mary, are you open for me to add you to my contact list? Because I'd love to keep you up to date or keep you informed of what's going on with this or with me or whatever you feel is appropriate to share. Most people, out of fear of loss, they'll say, sure, right? So this is very important. And then from there, I mean, I put cue cards, Rolodex here. I mean, this is the 80s, and if you're there, that's fine. I mean, little cue cards, put them manually, and it's just that today everybody has smartphones and everything synchronizes with your computer, and whenever you have your contact list, everything synchronizes with your phone, and boom, the entire life is on your pocket, right? But again, but what's very important is you need to have a personal list that you are accumulating over time as you're meeting people.
So the key is building relationships. That's the way you're going to get people's contact information. Conversation starters with new people, people you don't know that you've never met. You know, often I'm just out and about and I just smile at people. And when people smile back, I'm going to look at something that I like about what they have on, or, you know, maybe they had a beautiful smile, love their hair, color of eyes, whatever it is, you know, when you're connecting with them. And you got to get really comfortable at doing this, because people love compliments. How often do you get a compliment every day? And when you do, how do you feel when you get that compliment? You always feel good when you get a compliment, right? So that's how we like to open things up when we're talking to people, when we're out and about. And then you can start asking questions. Like, it's easy for us to ask a question here. We're kind of taking some downtime in Puerto Rico, and I mean, there's full of tourists in our hotel here. So, you know, you have to find questions that are relative to the environment that you're in too. Or maybe you're at a sports game with your kids. You say, which one's your child? And, you know, you start interacting and asking questions. I know it's extremely cold in Canada right now, because a lot of people are telling us that we're connecting with it. You know, one great question that I had when I was in the winters in Canada is, wouldn't you just love to be traveling right now. If you had an opportunity to just get up and go and pack your suitcase, where would you go? And that's a great opener, because now you're creating desires for people, right? And that's what you want to do, is create desires, or it's to bring up pain, where people are hurting. And we have an opportunity to change that. We have a products to change that. So be very creative with your questions, and don't worry about what to say. Just make it natural and practice. If you don't practice, you can never get good at anything. You got to be practicing this on a daily basis. And don't worry if you screw up. Just laugh at yourself and have fun. All right? You're there to make friends, too. We've got a lot of friends that we have around the world in Max. And, it all starts with a connection. And comment about something about them, something that you have in common. Make a comment about something you have in common. Maybe they start talking about something and you happen to love the same thing. All of a sudden, you open up a whole new conversation, which is really exciting. Which can turn out to a best friend, which can turn out to, hey, let's go meet up for a coffee. And then, of course, guess what comes into conversation? Well, what do you do for a living? And so there's lots of things that can bring that up. So getting contact details. Again, people are going to give you their contact details if they feel that they can trust you. Okay? Know you, like you, trust you. If they like you, they're going to give you information. If they trust you, it's going to be easy to give information to you. And maybe you're searching for people and you don't have a hold of that person. Ask a friend. Maybe you know somebody who knows somebody, and bang, in my opinion, you got two contacts, right? Look people up on Facebook and LinkedIn. I do this all the time. A name will trigger. Where do I go? Facebook, LinkedIn. See if I could find them. Offer something of value to people to create that connection. Articles, recommendations. I know Brian Watkinson, you're amazing at this. You always have something of value to give to people, and that's great. And then, of course, staying in touch is critical. Even if there's nothing that really came out of that conversation other than a connection, you've got to be in the game of staying in connection. You want to send this follow-up note. It was so awesome to meet you in person. If you've never met that person, maybe you met them through social media and you finally connected. Maybe you met that person for the first time. Send a message. People need to know that they're important. And this is what makes people feel important. Offer value. Facebook and social media, how many times a day are you, sending a happy birthday to somebody that you haven't talked to in a long time? Great opportunity to connect. Facebook comments, likes, all that stuff. There's so many things that you can do to build relationships.
So as we end the call here, folks, the summary is trust. Trust is the foundation of it all, which will lead to the relationship. People like to do business with people they trust, and that's how the relationship grows. And as the relationship grows, then the belief will reinforce the belief in the possibility of doing business with you, the belief maybe on them considering doing this business, to the belief of the product and the value that it's bringing based on your explanation and whatever it is that you put them through. And of course, the belief on the opportunity. Folks, people are looking for ways to earn money today. It is harder and harder and harder to keep a good job that pays. It's hard today and harder. They're cutting down people's wages. It's tough. People are looking. So if you present this in a way that is professional, and you have professional people that can help you kind of build the value of what it is you're sharing, I'm telling you, people are going to come into your business. So what's important here in finding people are the activities, right? One of the things that you can do is go to places, groups, like, for example, meetups.com. when you register for this, it's free, and it's asking you where you live, how far you're willing to drive to go meet different groups. So you could say, well, it could be 25 kilometers, or it could be 10 miles or 15 miles, whatever it is that you feel. It's something that's within your range, that's reasonable for you to do. And then from there, it's going to ask you, well, what kind of interest? What interests you? Well, I like movies, I like computers, or I like fishing, or whatever. And then from there, when these groups come in and you say, oh, there's a group of people who are doing this, these are in common with the things you like. And then go, and don't go there with your max hat and you're going to talk and recruit everybody, but go there with the possibility of meeting maybe one person, but in meeting that one person, you might have talked to 10, maybe 15 people. And through all of that, one person, you made a connection, and that's how things grows. And there's many different avenues. This does not mean necessarily that that you need to, like I said, talk to him about Max, and that's the point, right? The thing is, you want to build a relationship, make a connection with that person, and you'll find, and I know many of you on this call here, you're probably agreeing with me that very often you make a connection with that person, and when there's a connection with that person, there's a lot of things that you can introduce that you can do. So, folks, this ends our training this evening. I know Tammy has her 90-day program that will start in about 15 minutes. And we always appreciate your time. Make sure that you are going back to these calls or the previous calls to catch up to what we've done so far. Folks, if you want to be successful in this business, you need to learn the skills to build an organization, to sustain an organization. Tammy and I didn't get to Crown Diamond and maintain the kind of income we're earning by luck. These are by the disciplines and the activities that are consistently doing and duplicating within our organization, and we want the same for you. And folks, I'm telling you, Max is coming in with some amazing, amazing stuff. If you knew what's going on, it is exciting. So be prepared. Get the field ready to plant your seeds, right? So listen, have yourself a wonderful evening, and we look forward to chat with you. The call will be posted within the hour.
Have a great week, everybody.
Have a great week. Bye for now.